Hey, 9 a.m. Want to welcome everybody. Jeff Flatt, I'm the president of the board, and I'd like to start a meeting as I've done with several meetings I've been in. We're going to start with flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under
God, and
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, roll call. We'll go ahead and let the board members introduce themselves.
Brian Tierney, Zone 1, Kotzebue.
Owen Hennessy, Zone 4. Permanently.
Mark Pacheco, Zone 3, St. Helens.
Tyler Miller representing Zone 5 Skeptics.
Jeff Flatt from Rainier. And Jeremy Staff.
Yep, Jeremy Hypes, Executive Director.
Mickey Nichols, CFO.
Nathan Hughes, Technical Manager.
Mark Levine, IT Facilities. And additionally, online attending, we have Danielle Hooper, Operations Manager, and Chandra Egan, Data Specialist.
Right. Public comment. Tyler did mention Betsy was out there on the phone and she wanted to speak as well. I don't see in her yet. Do we have any other public comment? Okay.
I'll correct you. Okay, I don't need it.
Tammy Magra, Deer Island. I've been watching 911 for a long time and how dysfunctional it is. And, you know, every board can have their disagreements, but every one of you board members were elected by your constituents in your district. Mr. Miller is as equal on this board as everyone else. If he wants information, he should be allowed to have it. If he wants to come into the office, he should get it. I don't care if you like him or not. It's not about a personality contest. And I hope you guys start understanding that. It's disgusting, and you wonder why 911 goes down when you vote. I used to vote for it. I won't vote for it as it is now. And most of the people out there feel the same way. You know, you're a special district. And I've had a lot of experience with special districts. I can dissolve a special district. I've done it before, the first time in Oregon, and I can do it again. If you can't straighten up and act like grown people and treat everybody on this board equal, then you need to resign and go and let someone else it does. Dysfunction is not the way to go. And I hope you understand that. Thanks.
I'm Carol Sweet, and I'm from Scappoose. I live up on the hill off of Dutch Canyon where when I first bought my house 100 years ago, they said no police response, no cell phones, but you know, it'll get there in a couple of years. And that was 18 years ago. So we have endless problems to the point where my neighbors think I'm having an affair with the CenturyLink guy because he's there every other. And now that I'm widowed and I'm old and I'm there alone, my daughter keeps calling from Seattle saying, you have to get my mom's phone going again, or her cell phone. We have off and on. And I want to support it. I know I've worked with police agencies a lot of years, and I want it to be better. But I think we need to have we have to do something about the wiring. We have to do something about one of my calls was, I was told, well, some squirrels got into the place where the wires are, and we're just waiting to see who goes down. And I said, you can't wait to see when some of us might be in an emergency situation. I now have this watch because I spent 2 hours lying in my pasture a couple of weeks ago because there was no way to reach people. My cell phone doesn't work out there. So anyway, I would like to see us put it out to bid or whatever it takes. And we have good people working here. We just need to have the system work so that the good people can get to where they need to be. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Nancy Ward. I also live in Scappoose, and I am here to also reinforce our desire to have our representatives have equal opportunity on your board. The fact that I even have to ask that is shocking. As a board member myself, I don't think any of us require that we get along as far as personalities go. But I thought we all had the same issue at heart. We want what's best for our community. That doesn't seem to be happening here. I don't know why. I'm not involved to the level you are, but we can see what's happening. We can see the result. We deserve better. I mean, we're all right now, I think, suffering from the chaos at the national level. We really expect our small community to be able to work together because we all live here. We are neighbors. We know each other. What is so difficult about this? It's a requirement of being a leader that you get along with people. Get along with them to the point that your job can be done. And that's what we're asking for. Thank you.
Brady Freeheim. I live in St. Helens. I too would echo what the other people have said about dysfunction. We expect you to be adults. And I've seen many posts that Mr. Miller has made about the board not wanting to meet with him, about executive directors canceling meetings. That's not acceptable. And if you haven't noticed, the public finds it unacceptable. Your levies used to pass with what, 70%, 80%, and now they failed twice. I think that gives you a message that people are tired of it. They're tired of looking at 911 as a fat cat eating caviar with millions of dollars in reserves. Well, every other agency is running on fumes, and you sit here and are wasting our money. And we are tired of it, and you need to change. And clearly, Tyler beat someone that was a 20-some year incumbent. That tells you people want change. So if you're not getting that message, you should probably resign because change is needed and it will come whether you like it or not. And whether you want to be part of that or you don't, that's your choice. But you need to make that decision and be part of that change or leave.
Any other public comment here? Anybody online, public?
Don't see any hands raised or indication there's an online interest in public comment.
Okay.
Can we make sure that everybody has signed in up there?
Yes.
Is everybody signed in up at the podium?
Everybody needs to sign in. Okay. All right. Someone want to step out and holler at Betsy to see if she's available to speak? I know she was wanting to say something. So.
And then she was still on a meeting.
Thank you.
Mr. President, she's asking if she can get public comment a little later.
Okay. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on to Sheriff Pixley has a.
So you can feel free to step up to you don't in. I made a quick little PowerPoint for you guys. Hopefully it plays. But while he's getting that queued up, I set up real quick. Thank you for allowing me here today to speak.
I'm here to speak about an issue that impacts both officer safety and the safety of the citizens that we serve, our failing radio system. For years, the system has struggled, and instead of improving, the problems have only grown worse. Our two most recent officer-involved shooting, one in 2022, one last month, it's only grown worse. This radio system did not perform as it should. At best, it hindered communication. At worst, it failed completely. This is unacceptable. Radios failed, lives are put at risk. Our officers' lives and the lives of the public who depend on us are put at risk. That's why I'm here today to ask you to act with urgency. Cannot wait until tragedy strikes. We must fix the system before someone is killed because of its failure. Yes, speak something. As you can tell, this is an important issue. Multiple agencies are here to talk about this. Right.
Gotcha. No, not working.
Which one?
Oh, it's a big error. Oh. Sorry about that.
You're good. I've never used one of these things. I'm always on the computer. So, as I just talked about, our system has been failing over the years, and over the last two officer safety events, it's failed. This directly impacts both officer safety, response time, investigations, and public safety. Today, I just want to review a couple of key takeaways from my shooting in 22 and Corporal Lecky's shooting last month. So on July 20th, at 14:37 hours, Unit 110 called shots fired over the radio. Listen to the callback, which you'll hear in a minute. It was too garbled to understand. The follow-up transmission, which was, which you'll also hear, but it was, I'm okay, suspect down, notify supervisor, sheriff. That should have keyed something, that maybe something was missed. That was not captured or rebroadcasted. 4 officers were dispatched, no less than 4 officers were dispatched and arrived before anyone knew this was an officer-involved shooting. First command notification was delayed until 15:09 hours.
Copy. Vehicle crashed at Myrtle Creek for 1437. Alright, stop. 121 with 110. Copy. You're out with 110. 110 to the supervisor and sheriff. Suspect said I'm okay. I'm going to need medics here. Copy. Confirming Canaan at Myrtle.
Officer safety was compromised that day. There was lack of situational awareness placed on responding units, placing responding units officers at risk. St. Helens PD had people en route. They were unaware of the situation, what was going on. Delayed medical response for officer suspect. Like so, my lieutenant nor I was notified by CECOM until 32 minutes later. My notification came in the form of an OSP lieutenant calling me saying, whatever you need, you have. So we had a crash. That you haven't heard. I said, heard what? Said your officer shot someone. What the hell? That's not something that I should be hearing from another agency, and makes me look really bad, make my agency look really bad. This incident occurred only a half mile off of Highway 30. It was not a real rural area. It's on the top of a hill. It was treed. I included a picture of it in your guys' packet. If you guys need that, I'll send it out again. So it's not a remote area. Moving to March 31st, 22. This was my shooting. I was at Grumpy's Towing, which is right on the highway outside of Scappoose. OSP attempted to warn me. I was dispatched. Where was I? I was dispatched. I was about a half mile away on the highway. CECOM called, said OSP wants to know if you can render assistance at Grumpy's Towing for unwanted. Sure, why not? While en route, OSP was en route from their office. While I was en route, they tried to relay to me that this was the suspect in this call was wanted on an unrelated homicide aggression. The radio transmission was too garbled for me to understand that. I did not hear that until literally I was pulling into the parking lot. By that time, it's too late. That warning was repeated 45 seconds before the first shots were fired in my shooting. I would love to play that for you, but the radio system was down that day. At least the playback feature was down that day. So there was no recording made of that call. That's why I said it really hampered investigation. The people that investigated my shooting had to rely on body-worn cameras, in-car cameras to try to piece together the radio transmissions from the shooting that day. Once again, officer safety was compromised. I nearly walked in blind into an armed homicide suspect with 2 firearms. No dispatch audio, which created some serious, significant investigative gaps. Interagency response was hindered by unreliable communications. Summary for officer safety. Garbled failed transmissions equal delayed critical responses. CAD capture failures equals no situational response for responding units. Command notifications significantly delayed, which once again hamper the investigation and can hamper officer safety. We already covered how the investigation was compromised by the missing communications. The radio system is failing during life or death moments. Officers, supervisors, and the public are at an unacceptable risk. Problems are documented across multiple OIS events. So what I'm asking for you guys is to take immediate action before lives are lost. It's my understanding there's been at least 2 engineering studies in addition to meetings with multiple professionals about our radio system over the past 10 years or so. I understand the district does not have the millions of dollars that we need to create a new radio system. I get that. Sheriff's office has been underfunded for years. Our motto is do more with less. But between the 2 engineering studies and contracting consulting with other professionals in the industry, we should have the knowledge to be able to understand what we can fix to make it a direct improvement today. So I'm asking you guys to take the money that we do have and make those needed changes so we're not putting our officers, the public's lives at risk. You guys have anything? Oh, there was another incident. You want to talk about it, Brent, real quick? Same night of July of Sean's shooting.
For the record, Brent Thompson, I work for the sheriff's office. I'm a patrol sergeant. Been in the county for 14 and a half years, working full-time as an officer. Just to a little bit further, same day of this most recent officer-involved shooting, an officer with Scappoose Police Department was involved in a vehicle pursuit. It was about 10 o'clock at night. Went south of the city down to a marina between Scappoose and Rocky Point. The concerning piece is as soon as they left the highway, the radios immediately went garbled, pretty much to trash. And the officer relayed that he had one at gunpoint after the vehicle finally stopped, and no one heard it but me. I had to relay that to everybody else. And it's just another example of the system failures. Given enough time, I was asked to be here about 15 minutes ago, so I don't have a ton of examples, but given enough time, I assure you I could find plenty of examples where the system has failed us. Just off the cusp, many years ago, probably 2016, St. Helens officer, who's now a patrol sergeant, was in a fight with somebody in downtown St. Helens, like 3rd and Columbia. No one knew because it couldn't get out on the radio. The radio doesn't work downtown St. Helens. It's certainly not going to work in the rural parts of the county where we patrol. Another example, not specific, but there's been many a times, both on scene with fire, where we're getting status checked. Well, rather, fire's getting status checked through us because their radios don't work, or they're on a call, we're not with them, and we're sent code 3, lights and siren, to go see if they're okay because they're not answering the radio. Again, unacceptable. So, Chief.
Matthew Smith, Police Chief at the St. Helens Police Department. I wanted to come and speak to you all today out of solidarity with Sheriff Pixley, but also to augment something that Sheriff Pixley had already briefed you about, which was on the day of his shooting in 2022, I was working and heard the radio traffic, and it was completely incomprehensible. The fact that Sheriff Pixley wasn't killed that day is nothing short of a miracle. And I would only ask all of you, for someone who has responded to active shooter incidents myself in my career as a patrol officer, that communications is the key to saving lives. If our radio system is not functioning and we don't know where these threats are, not only is it going to endanger the lives of public safety professionals, but it's going to endanger the lives of our citizens. It's going to endanger the lives of our firefighters if they're out in a rural part of this county fighting a fire and they can't communicate with public safety personnel. What I'm asking all of you to do is that if it's predictable, it's preventable. Your own consultant, when I was briefed, told me that within 5 years, there's a 100% certainty that your radio system is going to catastrophically fail. It could happen next week. It could happen 15 minutes from now, or it could happen in 5 years. I think it's long past due that we start putting nouns and verbs in our sentences of how you're going to fundamentally replace the entire radio system and how you're going to patch the current system to ensure that if we have a catastrophic emergency in this county, that your first responders can communicate with each other in order to save our citizens' lives. Thank you.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. For the record, my name is Chris Will, and I have the honor to be the Chief of Police for Scappoose Police Department. I'm not going to reiterate what's already been kind of stated. Well, about me, I work for other law enforcement agencies to include the state of Washington. And this is, as you already probably know, is not the best radio coverage here. All I ask for today is that we work together going forward. I can probably speak for my fellow coworkers here that we will want to assist what's necessary in our capacity to help have a resolution coming together. You know, I respect what you guys do on the board too as well. One of my biggest things as chief of police, though, is just one thing that keeps me up at night is just active shooter and things like that too, with our kiddos, being a parent myself. So I want to do what I can as a chief of police, as a father, and as a person to try to rectify any situations before it hopefully never happens, to address that. So if a situation does come about, we have the resources to communicate with one another and also, of course, with our counterparts here and our partners here at CECOM. So I just want to say, I know you may feel like getting beaten up, but we're all in this together, and I just want to have some momentum going forward. So that's all I have. Thank you very much for your guys' time. Thank you.
So Doug Treat, Lieutenant, St. Helens PD. I've been here long enough that I remember when this building was built. And I remember what the comms were like in 1996, when I first started in St. Helens. I will tell you, working the last 5 years on nights, there's not a night that goes by that I miss information. There's not a night that goes by that my fellow officers and myself are in danger. There's not a night that goes by that there's critical information about somebody we're dealing with at 3 o'clock in the morning that we can't hear. I can't tell you, and again, I'm not in the county, I'm in the city of St. Helens. I can't tell you how many times I'm standing next to somebody and I can't hear anything on my radio and they can get the communication. Or I get the communication and they're 3 feet away and they can't hear it. I was out with a person who had a felony warrant for assault 1 who was felony suspended, and I had no idea because my radio didn't work. And I didn't know there was an issue with the guy I was with until one of my officers came screaming in where we were at. And we were at 18th and OPR. So the radio should work at 18th and OPR. So I can't emphasize again, you have everybody in law enforcement and the fire department that are saying, we need your help. This is critical. And we don't care what happened in the past. We need to move forward today. And we are all unified. And so I appreciate your time and thank you. But seriously, we need you. And we need you all to step up. Thank you.
Morning, Jeff Pritchard, Fire Chief with the Scappoose Fire District. Want to make clear, I'm not here as the Fire Defense Board Chief, which I am not. So I'm here as representative of our agency. I do want to say that I stand with the rest of the law enforcement professionals behind me. We do work together. You know, when they talk about a lot of the officer-involved shooting, fire and EMS are both there because we're kind of one and the same. With the active threat or active shooter, we're also there. A lot of times we're going into the warm zone, you know, where they're bringing people out to us and then we figure out how to get them to the hospital. So we truly are a team. And if there are any words of wisdom that I can impart, I don't need to rehash or reiterate what they've said. We all use the same radio system, so we have some of the same problems. But moving forward, I would recommend to the board that you guys work collaboratively together, that you give good guidance to your new director who just got here, so that he can follow through with helping us help the rest of the community. And that's what it's about. It's about teamwork. I think we've gone away from teamwork, but we need to get back to teamwork because the only way forward is going to be that teamwork. And that comes with communication. Communication while we're out there working as public safety professionals, but also communication so that we can solve these comprehensive community problems. We are disadvantaged. We don't have all the money in the world to do what we need to do. But I would like to think that there are a lot of smart people in this room, especially on the board and with our public safety professionals behind us. We understand budgets. We understand public process. We want to help you, but we need your help so that we can do the best that we need to do. Thank you for your time.
Just kind of to wrap this all up, we appreciate you guys' time. This was not meant as a gotcha. I'm an elected official. I know how crappy that is to do, so I would never do that to you guys. This is meant to start a conversation so that collaboratively, fire, EMS, dispatchers, we're all on one team. We can work together and move forward. We're all the line in the sand today. And let's figure out how to move forward in a positive direction. My phone is always open if you guys have any questions or comments for me. Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it.
Mr. President, may I ask some follow-up questions, please? Sheriff Pixley, thank you, and I applaud you for coming here and talking about this issue. And I know how hard the 2022 incident was on you. You said that you had sent a packet. Can you tell us who you sent that packet to and what the date was?
Well, to be fair, I just put this together yesterday, so I sent it yesterday, I believe, to Nathan and Danelle.
Yes,
Yeah.
I need you to clarify which documents.
Oh, I think I said
A communication error, just sorry about
I
that.
think I said everything yesterday, didn't I?
There was some redacted stuff in there, so I wasn't sure which ones we needed.
Yeah. So that was for the redacted information. That was for their packets as well. What it was a redacted copy of the CAD call, which if Nathan doesn't mind, you can provide, or I can resend it again.
Yeah.
With all the first protected information redacted out. But it kind of shows how, and I highlighted a couple areas in there when shots were fired, when shots fired were called, and then when it was finally entered into CAD, probably an hour and a half later. So yes, please. And that's also a quick picture of what the shooting scene looked like. Not anything graphic. I drove up there, took a picture on my cell phone of exactly where it took place. So you can see what it looked like that day.
Thank you. Yeah, I have not received that. So hopefully.
Probably my fault because I got it in. So.
And I just have some concerns as it's an open investigation. So, we can't really.
The investigation is actually closed. It's currently sitting on the DA's desk and he's going through it. So there's nothing in there. That's why it's redacted. There's nothing in there that's involved in the investigation or anything else.
Would an open investigation impede our ability to take action on fixing a radio system issue?
No, I'm just talking about our comment until the investigation is closed. I wasn't aware the investigation was closed.
Okay. And Sheriff Pixley, you're aware that the district hired and paid quite a bit of money for a consultant back in approximately 2014, Mr. Palance, that made a multitude of recommendations on what needed to be done to fix the radio system at that time?
Yes.
Okay.
And I believe Scappoose, the county, Columbia City and Rainier contracted with another engineering firm within the past 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And with that, I would like to put on the record too, that it's my opinion that the board or the 901 district did very little to address the issues that Mr. Palance came up with in that report. And so it's no surprise to me that we're sitting here with all this public comment about the radio system failures. Meanwhile, we have had millions of dollars in the reserve account, equipment reserve account specifically earmarked to fix these issues, and very little has been done. And it's jeopardized the lives of all these first responders that are in the room and everybody else that's on duty right now and continuously. It will. I am completely baffled how we can spend so many hundreds of thousands of dollars on consultants that clearly define a plan and then we do not execute on that plan. We are putting lives at risk. So what is it going to take to get the radio system fixed? We've been doing this now for over 8 years. If everybody wants to know how frustrated I am or why I'm frustrated with this board in this district, that is why. I've lived this. I've been a reserve. I was in an officer-involved shooting. I know how critical it is. It's time to represent the constituents and watch out for the first responders' safety. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions?
Thank you.
Good board. I appreciate your guys' time.
You know, from my perspective, I appreciate what Tyler says and all the comments from you. You know, hopefully we can get everybody pulling the same direction here, because I think at the end, we all want the same thing. We just gotta figure out what we gotta do to get there. So. Yeah, and the financial part of it is a definite concern, how to make it happen, but we definitely need to make it happen. I've had some conversation with Chief Smythe about some grants. I don't know if he was successful. I know he was working on getting his own radios, and I don't know. I know Jeremy's, he's gonna talk about that here in a little bit about that, but I think that's a potential avenue that I don't know if anyone else has pursued that as a way to, you know, make this radio upgrade happen, so.
So Chief Smith actually organized a meeting with some of our legislatures, actually with the governor's aide, I think. Yes. To try to figure out how we can come up with, I think they thought at that meeting.
Yeah.
We can come up with.
And I do
collective plan.
interested to hear what Betsy has to say, because I think maybe she has some insight on how to help with some of that funding, some of the issues as well, so. Okay, thank you. We'll keep moving, and additions to the agenda. Have any?
We need to add a discussion to the agenda about transferring funds from the emergency equipment fund to our general AP fund to cover payroll.
Okay. All right, official appointments. Legal services. Got Miller Nash as labor. There. Accept a motion for.
I'd like to have a discussion on that, Mr. President.
Okay, I think we need a motion in a second before we do a discussion on that, so. We have a motion for a second.
I make a motion that we accept Miller Nash.
Okay. Have a motion. We have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, motion is second, and Tyler got some discussion.
Yeah, thank you. So Mr. Peterkin, who's with us here today, is or has been the general counsel for the district now for, I think, 2 years, and correct me if I'm wrong. Per the contract that we got last board meeting, he's billing at a rate of $495 an hour. That I'm aware of, and what I've been told, is that Mr. Peterkin has no government entity law experience. I'm wondering why we are using an attorney that has no government law experience prior to his experience on this board or with this agency, when there's law firms such as Local Government Law Group, to name one, that actually does provide legal services to special districts throughout Oregon. That's all they do, and government entities. There's a lot of value in using law firms and attorneys that provide services to other public entities, because in my experience being on city council, you can email or call them with an issue and they already know the answer, or they've already drafted the same legal memo or whatever for other cities, counties, or whoever they represent. And there's value there. It ends up saving the city money in that example. They're also, I emailed them and just asked if they would be interested. This was before I was even on the board. If the board chose to, would they be interested in providing legal services to the district? They said yes. I asked them how much. $300 an hour. And they work with SDAO and all the other, like, League of Oregon Cities, Associations of Oregon Counties. So I'm not understanding why we need to have general counsel at $495 an hour who drives here from Bend, Oregon to be at these meetings. I'm perplexed as to why this needs to happen and the amount of money that the 901 district is spending on legal counsel. Now, as far as the lawsuits go, I'll address that right out the chute. The district has insurance. Insurance Defense Counsel is assigned through the insurance company and hired by the attorney. They pay for that. I don't understand what's going on here and why we're getting $30,000 legal bills per month. And even if that legal service is warranted and necessary, it would be a lot less if we were paying $300 an hour.
It's my understanding the travel, do you charge for travel or when you come to meetings?
No, I don't charge for travel, mileage, hotels, anything. And yeah, do you have any other questions? I'll be glad to answer.
No other.
Yeah, although the motion before the board has to do with Miller Nash.
Correct.
And so the discussion is not relevant to my employment. That's not yet before the board. So the question before the board is whether Miller Nash will be retained to do employment and labor services for the future.
Mr. President, I'm sorry, I didn't, thank you for the clarification there. So I just want to throw out there that if we can go do research or maybe direct staff to, go talk to some different legal service providers and get us some different options. I know, for example, Local Government Law Group does a full range of legal services to include employment law and counsel. And I think Ms. Van Meter's proposal was that she was going to be $475 an hour. I go back to what Local Government Law Group said, about $300 an hour. And if they can provide all those services, I think we owe it at least to our constituents to go and research that and bring that proposal forward, because that is a significant cost savings.
Yeah. Do we have any other discussion on Nash labor? We have a motion and a second, so we'll call for the vote for Miller Nash. All in favor of continuing with Miller Nash? Say aye.
I'd like to do some more investigation for it.
Okay, and I'll table that. We'll go ahead and do some more investigation on Miller Nash.
Yeah.
And let's move on to Peterkin Burgess, legal counsel. We need a motion in a second for retaining Michael Peterkin Burgess for general counsel.
Make a motion.
Motion.
We continue.
Second.
Second.
Okay, second. A motion and a second. Any discussion on retaining Michael Peterkin?
President, I echo the same concerns that I just said. Why are we paying $495 an hour for legal counsel when we could pay $300? I think that more research needs to be done at minimum, and we need to make fully informed decisions, and that includes getting proposals from other law firms that are less expensive.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote for retaining Michael Peterkin Burgess for general counsel. All in favor, aye.
Nay.
And an aye as well, so Michael Peterkin. Auditor.
Excuse me, Mr. President, there's one more. And that's Eileen.
Eileen Aiken, yes. And I believe Tyler, you had some comment about Eileen in a previous.
Yeah, thank you. So SDAO, and that's another point. I think that SDAO should have been consulted about this also, but SDAO mentioned Eileen Aiken, that she provides a lot of legal services to special districts, and the special districts is really happy with her. So she is, of course, one. The Local Government Law Group, I just mentioned them only because I know that they do the full, range of legal services. But I mean, I would have thought that we would have went and solicited proposals from multiple firms that are qualifying and that actually practice government entity law.
Yeah, and I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, but we have reached out to Eileen and we have her.
So Eileen has been contracted by the executive director, but only to the limit of 20,000 to provide special governance advice. And so it's up to the board to whether to also extend that for to use her for special projects. So for example, she worked on policy 4 on the first draft. That's before the board. And so it's up to the board to also extend her to a general professional contract as well.
And
I know, by the way, I should also comment that she does not do any litigation work or dispute work or appellate work or all the things that are involved in defending the district from litigation filed by third parties.
And I've been to some seminars at the SDL conference that she's been on, and she's really good.
And I also have been working with her, and I recommend her to the board.
Okay, so I need a motion in a second for Eileen Aiken.
Mr. President, may I clarify kind of the roles here? So that's 3 attorneys. Basically, we're gonna have 3 attorneys from what I understand. So what is the lane of, I think I understand what, based on what Mr. Peterkin just said, what Eileen Aiken's role is, but does that mean that she's drafting something and then it's going to Mr. Peterkin and we're paying for his billable hours too, as general counsel? So we're being charged for 2 different attorneys to do the same outcome, basically. The duplication of legal services, in my opinion, needs to stop.
Well, there won't be any duplication in your definition, but it would be no different that there was an associate in my firm that did a draft and then I reviewed the draft, or Eileen did the first draft and then, or I did a draft, she reviewed it. She has a specialty and she is used like any other professional, and they have a slice of expertise and we'll use that to our best advantage and at a lower price per hour. And so this is advantageous to the board on certain select matters. Yeah, but she doesn't know, for example, she doesn't know about the business of 911. And the officer speaking today, she doesn't know about, what they do and CJIS. She's not CJIS certified. But she provides what I think is an excellent service. And I do recommend using her, but only on special projects.
Okay, any other comments on? Need a motion and a second for. And we got, yeah, we already had that, so all in favor, I'll call for the vote.
I still don't quite understand. So is it still going to you to review? Because if we're just adding another attorney in billable hours, then why? So do
I
we
think
have?
what I hear him say is that she's doing all that work that he's not doing at a much lower price than if he was to do all that work. So it's saving the district money. It's not spending more money.
So I understand that part, but are you doing the review and would you also, I mean, how much money is it saving us? And can you explain that? Are we actually saving money or are you still reviewing all the work that she does? I'm just trying to understand what the benefit is. I'm not saying there's not a benefit. I'm just, for the record, a lot of these questions as a board member, you ask to get things on the record. It doesn't mean that you don't know the answer to it, but sometimes you have to ask questions to get things on the record for context.
Certainly Eileen and I would work together, and as general counsel, I would certainly review her work to make sure that it meets statutory standards. And the language. I mean, she's a great resource. And she saves money and saves time. And my review reflects her initial work. So I don't think that it's an unnecessary duplication. It is providing the best service to the district at the best reduced price because she does charge less because of what she does and she doesn't do. So again, just like Miller Nash and Heather Van Meter, they do just select things. And it's, in today's world, one attorney can't be a master of everything. And so it's smart to have individual attorneys with a select expertise address certain matters. That's my answer.
Right. Any other comment on that? Okay, we'll go ahead and call for the vote for Manny Macon Governance Council. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Advisory committee. Yeah, where are we at here? Okay, insurance, insurance agents, record and the auditor. Let's do the auditor one. Accept a motion, please, second for the auditor.
I'll make the motion for purposes of discussion.
Okay, we have a motion for Polly Rogers for auditor. Do we have a second? Second, motion second, and discussion.
Mr. President, how many years has Polly Rogers been our auditor?
I don't have the total number of years. I'm sorry. Is it okay if I respond? Because I'm the one who will be dealing with that. President. I don't have the total years because I've only been here for 2.5 years. I can get that information for you. I'm happy to do that. However, last year, we spent a lot of time doing a lot of research trying to find a new auditor, and it's that problem everywhere in Oregon. Our auditors are a year behind. I have been able to convince them moving forward that I can do these 2 years, the 1 year that we're behind at the same time. So we're going to be able to get caught up. But we have done the research. The farthest out is Idaho to possibly get one. I have not extended past Oregon and Washington.
Thank you. Thank you. My concern is there anything for some reason I seem to think that there's something in the statute about the auditor that says that you can't use the same auditor for so many years. Now, I could be thinking of something else.
Correct.
Okay.
But they address that. Polly Rogers, they don't provide the same person every audit. It's a different person every time. So they are following.
So this is a good example of getting clarification and putting information on the record, especially for the public. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go and call for the vote unless there's any other comment on our auditor. Okay, all in favor of Polly Rogers, auditor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Where are we at? Insurance agent of record, we've got Hagan Hamilton. Motion and a second for Hagan Hamilton.
I'll make the motion. So moved.
Okay. Tyler's got the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Ryan with the second and discussion on the insurance agent of record.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I do have a question. So how does the insurance work? Do we shop that to see what the rates are that we're getting, or excuse me, if there's any better rates, or how? Does anybody here know how that works?
It's, we meet annually with them and we review, make sure that we have all the appropriate amounts and, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Pardon? Yeah, so it's through SDAO. Hagan and Hamilton is just the agent, so they do the research on the best that we can get for price. Hagan and Hamilton does that for us and make sure that we get what we need at the best price, including our cybersecurity.
Thank you. Okay. Call for the vote then for insurance with Hagan. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Want to do that addition to the agenda, the transfer of funds?
Okay, Nikki?
So I spent some time last month going through all of our numbers, trying to figure out how long we can last. And unfortunately, in our general fund, I only have enough money to last for one more month. So I am here to ask the board if they would be willing to transfer 1.2 from our equipment fund to our general fund to cover October, November, and December. So we have a chance to get our revenues in from the one levy that we have. We do not have a resolution drawn up at this time for you to sign or anything. Mary Jo's gone this week, so we will have to do that after the fact for signatures if approved.
Okay, any other discussion? No, so we'll call for the vote for the additional transfer of funds. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Opposed, okay, motion carries. Advisory committee appointments. We have a list of advisory committee. Can we motion in a second for advisory committee, and then if we have any discussion, we'll move into that.
We have a copy of that.
I
We can share.
thought I saw a copy of it. We want to make some copies and then we can maybe discuss that. A few minutes after the copies are distributed.
So do you have a copy or should I go make some?
I don't have. Yeah.
All right, I'll be right back.
Let's go ahead and keep moving. We'll go into the approval of the regular meeting minutes. Need a motion in a second for.
I'll make a motion, we approve the July 24th regular meeting minutes.
Second. Okay, motion in a second. Any discussion on the minutes? Okay. All in favor, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? Approving those, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, good. Motion carries. Regular meeting minutes, let's go ahead and go, Mickey, into financial reports.
Yeah, I'd like to share with everyone that we did just get our 23, 24 or 22, 23 audit complete with no findings. I believe it was in your packets. And again, I did ask because I would really like to get caught up. And it's might be a burden for them to try to do 2 years, but they were so willing to do that and help us get caught up on the audits. And I think it was the behind, they're overworked, but they're willing to do 2 years. It'll be the last audit that we just got back was our other CFO, our old CFO Nancy's books that were audited, and these 2 years will be my set of books. So they're excited to mush that together and get those done. And that's the audit report. Our budget variance, our benchmark is at 91.67, and we are currently at 93%. don't have anything else of significance to report. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Any questions for Mickey on the budget variance?
Mr. President.
Yes.
Thank you for explaining that, Mickey, because one of my questions was going to be why the audit report was for fiscal year, was it 2023? Sorry, I don't have it up.
22, 23. I'm currently started 23, 24, and 24, 25.
Okay, so just making sure that that's on the record, that the public understands the reason that the 2022, 2023 audit is just now coming before us is because, as you stated earlier, the auditors are backed up. Do we have an idea of when we're going to be able to get the current audit?
This last one took about 9 months. So possibly, but because there's 2 years, I'd say within the year.
Thank you.
Okay, need a motion and a second for the acceptance of the budget variance.
Make the motion.
Okay. Got a motion, got a second, okay. All in favor of accepting as presented budget variance? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed, none. Expenditures. Need a motion on and a second for expenditures, and then we'll move into some discussion on that, if any.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, motion to accept the expenditures. And I have a second. Okay, second, any discussion on expenditures? Seeing no discussion, we'll call for the vote on expenditures. All in favor? Aye. Aye, opposed, none. Approval of the audit report, 2022, 2023 audit report. Motion in a second for that.
Make a motion to approve that, the 22, 23 audit report.
Okay, motion second, discussion on that audit report. We've already kind of discussed some of that. But any further discussion? None, so we'll call for the vote for the approval of the 2022, 23 audit report. All in favor, aye. Aye. Aye, opposed? None. And we'll move on into the operations report. Danelle.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Are you guys able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I have an update on staffing. We have 2 lead dispatchers, 9 full-time, which include 2 in training. This is an update from when I did this report. We've had some changes just in this last week. We had 1 trainee that didn't meet the skills requirements of the training program, and he was eliminated. And we do recognize how tough it is to achieve that, and we wish him very well. As far as our recruitment efforts, our rolling recruitment continues. And an update on our progress. So July 1st is when we rolled this out for the first time. We received 23 applications. 20 of them passed the application review. 10 of them passed the initial critical, which is a high school equivalency type of test with some multitasking integrated. And then select advantage assessment, which is a personality assessment for suitability. We had 8 people pass select advantage and 5 passed the staff observation. And actually that's also updated. We have 7 that have now passed. An update from our interviews. We've now issued 6 conditional job offers. And I have an interview later today, which will wrap up all of the July applications. August applications have been coming in. We've received 10 so far, and we'll start this process over again September 1st while overlapping the background portion of the July previous month. Our training officers are continuing our training efforts. We have 7 certified training officers. Our 2 trainees that are remaining in training are doing very well. And Jamie has graduated from his first block, and Beth continues in her first block. So they started in opposite blocks. We do training where they typically will do call taking first and then move to law enforcement dispatching. But because we started so many at once, we needed to stagger their blocks. So Jamie started on law radio and he is now doing call taking, and Beth is in her call taking. We're preparing for our all staff training and staff meeting. We had great success with the last two and involving our user groups and outside agencies. So that's planned for October 6th and the 17th. We stagger it that way in order to get all staff in attendance because of the schedule. DPSST training. Jamie and Beth, who are still in training, are going to be attending the Telecommunications Academy this next month. And our lead dispatcher, Bree, is attending Supervisory Academy in September. They go for 1 week, they come back for a month, and then they go for another week. And this is free training provided by DPSST. Last month, we reported that we were planning our staff and family summer get together, and we did do that on the 16th. It went very well. There was good attendance, and we gave out our annual staff awards. Jeremy did a great job in presenting the awards. One of our extinguished winners is in attendance. Merck's achieved Employee of the Year, and that was voted on by his peers and staff. So we congratulate him and all those other staff that did win, and that's included in your packet. Does anyone have any questions for me?
I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you.
And congratulations, Merck's. Appreciate all your hard work. We're gonna move on to a technical report. Nathan.
Yeah, so first area is the radio system. We're still working on gathering quotes for the security system at our radio sites. I know I've been talking about it for a long time. Had a lot of other priorities crop up before that. We met with Day Wireless to renegotiate our contract and come up with something that suits our needs a little bit better. We also during that meeting, as interim executive director, I commissioned radio system analysis using Hydra software. So basically they'll build our radio system in the computer, show how it should work. And that way we can quickly identify areas of our radio system that need immediate attention. We've also been made aware of some other deficiencies that are not high price tag items that we can start working on now. We've also been developing a radio issue reporting system to gather radio system feedback from our users in the field. We're just letting some of our radio contacts look it over to make sure that it gathers all the information that they need to make informed decisions. Evacuation kits, we've been making progress. We got the Vesta computers set up to be remote, so they can actually take those laptops anywhere in the world and be able to answer our 911 phone calls. We're still working with the state to get some details ironed out so that we can actually take them out. Magix, we've gotten an updated timeline to go to version 25. We are on version 23, I believe, right now. So it's going to be a big jump, and it's based on year. So version 23 came out in 2023. We're going to 2025. It's going to bring a lot of major updates. So it's going to be quite a timeline and a lot of work on our end. The biggest thing that we're getting is updated MDCs. So the users in the field, a lot of their issues are going to be resolved that they have with our current MDC software. It also looks a lot newer than what they are using. So that's going to be around May 2026 to give all the time for programming, planning, and testing with the field users. Facility, we removed a handful of trees. One was posing risk to our generator. A couple were posing risks to our roof, especially for replacing our roof. We don't want to have a tree that can damage it right afterwards. And then we had a couple freestanding dead trees that we had removed just so they didn't hurt anybody. We are gathering quotes for painting. Well, actually, we've gathered quotes for painting and sealing the sides of the building. And we will probably be talking about that as part of the roof replacement update. We also have another point to talk in there about is increasing the not to exceed for Lower Columbia Engineering as part of that roofing update. That's all I have. Any questions?
Anybody got any questions for Nathan? Well, thank you, Nathan.
Sounds exciting.
Hey, and I know Tyler mentioned Betsy was outside on the phone and I just saw her come in, so we're gonna extend the public comment and we're gonna let Betsy, would you like to speak?
Mr. President, we also have Sally Jones online who'd like to comment too.
Okay. Yes, we'll be.
Defer to former Director Jones.
Okay, Sally, you've got the floor. We've got 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. And Betsy, you could have gone in front of me, really. I just wanted to, first of all, thank the public testimony from citizens, some of whom I recognize from when I was there so long ago. I know it takes a lot of courage to stand up and talk about what you believe in and voice concerns, and it's important for public servants to hear what you have to say. So thank you for that. And thank you also to the public safety leaders who have so pointedly and clearly defined the most critical issues the district's facing right now, as far as the radio system reliability and use. My main want, the reason why I'm commenting, and is I'm seeing a real opportunity at this time. We have some new board members. We've got a new executive director. We've got very strong staff leadership. And there's a real opportunity to rejuvenize the district. When we got it started back in 1990, when voters approved the formation of the district, all the public safety entities in the county were in dire straits. They couldn't pay user fees. They didn't have money for infrastructure, and their solution was to form this district to spread the cost evenly around the entire service area, the whole county. Those resources are limited. We honored that as we built the district. One example is the building you're sitting in. It's not stick built, it's prefab, as you know, and that was the least cost we could do. It's designed to be a 30-year-old building and it's 28 years old now. The maintenance has preserved it and will preserve it longer than that. But as I say, the opportunity, we have a wonderful opportunity to establish plans for improvement. The district has a solid procedure for investigating and responding to every complaint, and I'm sure that will be in place with our new executive director. We have to face the fact that our local option levy funding failed twice, and we can't make improvements without funding. So there's got to be a dual attention to responding to the issues, as well as getting funds reauthorized. It's got to work together. But like I say, we've got solid administrative staff. There's training for healthy boards to work together, available through the membership in special districts. The risk assessment and prevention is also available through special districts insurance services. You've done a lot of existing planning for the radio system. Of course, those recommendations don't come with funding for their implementation, but that's your job to figure out how to fund it.
Okay, Sally, we're out of time for your 3 minutes, but I sure appreciate your input and your years of knowledge and wisdom there. So we're going to go ahead and keep moving to Betsy.
Thank you for the time.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for your courtesy in allowing me to speak. I never dreamed a phone call that was supposed to go a short amount of time went a long time. For the record, my name is Betsy Johnson. Ms. Jones made a number of the points that I have concerns about. My bona fides to have an opinion about this include the fact that for 20 years I was a state level policymaker and worked as the legislative liaison to OWIN. So I have a rough idea of how complicated and fraught with difficulty these communication systems are. My family have been ambulance users, including me. I have communicated with the public safety people through 911. I am a contributor to the upcoming ballot measure. I don't know if others have, but I was an early contributor as a tangible recognition of how important I think fixing this system is. And last but not least, I'm a member of the community. I am here today to express concerns on the part of 60,000 people that you have the responsibility to serve. That what should be a solution-oriented, problem-solving approach to fixing our failing 911 system has become acrimonious, ineffective, and an expensive fight over management and equipment replacement. In my opinion, and I'm not alone, you guys need to stop the haggling and recognize the fragility of this system and fix it. And so I'm here with the plea that MERS director, former Director Jones, to say, can we put some of this aside and figure out how to shore up this incredibly vulnerable system that could ultimately, I believe, cost lives? If we're dependent on fire, public safety, and ambulance, with what decisions you all make here, you have got to make expeditious and correct decisions. And so I am just here today to plead with you to move on with resolving the differences on this board. I easily can question some of the decisions you've made. Bend is a long ways to come for your attorney. I don't know if there are other qualified attorneys that would help moderate expenses, but you're going to run out of money and run out of runway, and we're in jeopardy of not having a system. So I thank you for listening to those concerns, and I wish you Godspeed in figuring out a solution. Thank you.
Betsy. Okay. Yeah. Advisory committee, yes, thank you. Appointment of advisory committee. We accept a motion and a second for advisory committee appointment.
I'll make a motion, we accept the advisory committee as appointed as
presented.
presented.
And I'll second.
Second, okay, any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. President, I'd like to have discussion on that.
It's done.
Okay. Shelley, you can go ahead. Okay. So the advisory committee appointment directly relates to the Chapter 4 board updates, where we received a revised copy. Sorry, I'm shuffling through my papers here. And I believe this is going to come in front of the board for adoption here later in the agenda. But my concern is that as written and as related to advisory committee adoption is we're violating the ORS, and I'm open to hearing how we're not. But basically the advisory committee for the ORS 403-380. And this is the issue with the Chapter 4. It says individuals who represent the public or private safety agency on the advisory committee do not have to reside within the district. However, if you read ORS 403-380 under number 1, it says a district board shall appoint an advisory committee to advise and assist the board in carrying out the purposes of ORS 300, yada, yada. An advisory committee consists of one representative from each public or private safety agency included within the district. So that's okay. The fire departments, the police agencies, whatever, they have to be within the district. That's understood. But then it goes on to say members of the advisory committee must reside within the district. So it clearly establishes, and reside means resident. So it clearly defines that it's talking about an individual board member. So I just have concern that we're adopting the advisory committee here and knowing if all these people live within inside the district. And I don't disagree that of the people that should be on the advisory committee, but it's not for me to decide. It's what the ORS is. It's what's law. We need to follow the law. There's other ways to get the input from the other folks that don't reside inside the district. We can accommodate that, but we need to follow the law. So my concern is just, sorry, Jeff. But my concern is that the ORS is clear. Members of the advisory committee must reside within the district. And then we go to chapter 4, new policy, that says individuals who represent the public or private safety agency on the advisory committee do not have to live within the district. So I just would like our chapter 4 policy to comply with the law.
Okay, well, we'll deal with the policy 4 when we get to it on the agenda, but right now I appreciate Tyler's comments and comments, sure.
My comments is the people that are on this is what we need. We need this advisory committee. We need all these law enforcement, fire people, the people that are on here active and helping. That's what we need. I just wanted to point that out, that I think that's a collaborative list of the people that are gonna be using this, and that's what we need.
I believe it is kind of a gray area on there. I think how it was done in the past, when Sally was here, Mike Fletcher was here, I think it was the agency itself was the resident, and then it was whoever was in charge of that. Is that, am I correct in that? Is that?
You're correct, Mr. President. From the inception, according to Sally Jones and the records and the past executive directors, the members have always been the public and private safety agencies. The representatives of those members are the people that come and go on the advisory committee. And the definition in context under the rules of interpretation that the Oregon Supreme Court has provided as guidance tells us how to interpret the statute. And so the board can really have 3 choices. And this is current litigation. And so we don't want to speak too much on it because this is before the Court of Appeals on a particular issue, but on this very issue. But the board can appoint the captains and chiefs, and there's captains and chiefs here, and they've expressed their views, and it seems to me, based on their comments, that they'd like to be on the advisory committee to continue to express their views, whether or not they live in the confines of the county. The second choice is to reappoint the current members of the committee. But my understanding is that it's been dysfunctional because they need to have the chiefs and the captains, the people that are supervisory and make decisions like Sheriff Pixley. And then you could also follow some people's interpretation of the statute by looking at this and deciding who is a resident and who is not in Columbia County or within the district. And so those are the 3 choices. But when you put this in perspective, it is the public and private safety agencies and the county that has the vested interest of getting who they want on the committee as their best representative. Because this board accepts those selections. It's always been, as I understand it, that the chiefs and the captains appoint who they want on the advisory committee.
Yeah.
And we need every quarter, we need to have an advisory committee meeting. And that's mandatory under the statute. So the question, since we have some chiefs and captains here, does the board direct them to please give us who you want on the committee and indicate whether they're residents or non-residents of the county, and let's see where we're at. But the point is to get the most qualified people on the committee, and under the statute, the word, that when you read the entire statute in context, it's talking about the member, private and public safety members. It's the people that you serve that are here talking about it today. So those are your three options, or maybe a fourth option of just sending it out to all the chiefs and the captains and say, okay, here's your list, or give us a different list. And then we can either have a special board meeting to appoint those, or you can go ahead and just appoint this list. But it doesn't, litigation over this issue that's been, is not, we need to spend our money better or different. But we also have an opportunity to have the circuit court decide this issue if it's absolutely necessary. Just like when the gun legislation was adopted here in Columbia County, and we did there was a validation action. So,
Yeah, I appreciate what Tyler said. We want to be legal. We want to do the right thing. And if we can get a ruling, I just know how it's been done in the past. And from my perspective, it's the decision makers that are standing in the back room over there that, some of those guys and their counterparts, those are the guys. And it is my understanding as well that the current advisory committee as it exists is dysfunctional. So we definitely need to do some changes, and I would be willing to address this at another point when we get some clarification over, so that we make sure we're doing the right thing.
I think I have something to offer, Mr. President, if you're done there. So I do want to point out an email dated July 26, 2023 between Keith Endicott, the Executive Director of Klamath Falls 901 Communications District, and Mike Fletcher, our former 901 Communications District Director. And Mike Fletcher posed this question to Mr. Endicott, and Mr. Endicott replies, our advisory committee exists as defined by statute ORS 403-380. That also defines the membership, which is a representative from each public or private safety agency within the district, and does require the representative of that agency to live within the district. Now, there's nothing that says that we can't. First and foremost, I believe we need to comply with the law. Otherwise, we can't just ignore the lawmakers and do whatever we want to do. There's nothing in the statute that says that we have the authority to do that. There's an alternative that doesn't involve litigation, that doesn't involve attorneys either. We appoint the people that the agencies want on the advisory committee. There's nothing that says that the other people that you want on the advisory committee can't attend and can't sit right by them and can't be a proxy. There's nothing that says that they can't have input. It's a simple solution. You can comply with the law and you can still get the input from everybody you want to get input. It's very simple. It does not have to be this complicated.
Okay. So, moving forward.
Yeah.
Yes, Chief Bridger.
Just something for the board to consider. I don't want to state that I have an opinion on one side of the fence or the other. There have been many comments made today about collaboration. It is impossible for us to collaborate as decision makers when we have to defer to individuals of lower rank who don't have purchase authority or are charged by their governing bodies to make financial decisions. So it is important who is picked for these committees. And I wouldn't say the committee is dysfunctional, it's inefficient. And as we're all talking about words that matter, that's something that needs to be considered. If we're going to move forward, if we're going to take action, we need the decision makers, the actual decision makers on that committee, irregardless of where they live, so that we can make decisions. It is very hard for the chiefs of all these public safety agencies to come together And if this is the one opportunity that we get to do that, we can't do our job if we're not allowed to. Thank you.
Mr. President, Sally Jones would like to speak if you allow her.
Okay, Sally.
Just to provide some historical context, when our district was formed, the legislation authorizing it was new, and I was aware of the legislative intent of the statutes. And just a summary, when the board first appointed the first advisory committee, it was the chief executives of each public and private safety entity that we served. From that point forward, those individuals then at times sent someone in their stead if they could not attend the meetings in person. The advisory committee meetings also rotated location around the county, and they did occur actually monthly for a while. The statute was at least quarterly, but because the district was new, the meetings occurred more often. So I'm just, happy to provide that kind of historical context here if you feel like it's relevant. You're not limited to 4 times a year. You can certainly do it more often. If you appoint just the chief executives of each public and private entity, that does not preclude them from appointing someone else to attend in their stead.
Okay, thank you, Sally.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to make another comment. So we trust these people that are at the top, regardless whether they live in our county, they're taking care of the people in this county. And I think that's why those people need to be there. That's important. I don't care where they live. If they're helping, if they work here and live here, it makes no difference to me if they're working on helping the people of Columbia County. So.
Okay, any other discussion?
I do have a question for Mr. Peterkin, if I could.
Yes.
In your opinion, is this list as it stands defensible if we approve it?
Absolutely. And it's not just my opinion. We've had a second opinion on this. But granted, this statute is not a model of clarity. The Oregon Court of Appeals and the Oregon Supreme Court spend more than half their time doing one thing, interpreting statutes. So unfortunately, this statute isn't as clear as it could be, but when you read it according to the statutory interpretation rules and case law, then the best analysis, the best conclusion is that it's the member agencies that have to be the residents, not the representatives of the member agencies. But other people have argued differently, and we respect that argument, and that's why there's dispute. And so it is defensible. Ultimately, this issue could be concluded by a validation proceeding. If that was, necessary, but we're trying to get the best people, as Chief Pritchard said, to make the decisions. And when the radio system is at the point that it is today, we need a robust, invested advisory committee that will work closely with the district to get the best radio system in place with the best coverage and reliability. And that's the mission of this district.
Okay, yeah, and I appreciate Chief Pritchard, what he had to say as well on that. So that's any other discussion? If not, we're going to call for the vote. And I think we could, if we get more information down the road that determines we need to make a change, we can always address this later, but I'm ready to move forward. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I'm abstaining.
Okay, motion carried. I'm gonna turn it over to Jeremy for new business.
All right, so our equipment reserve fund spending limit, actually, sorry, Mickey, let's go ahead and do your, or we already got approval on your, I'm sorry, disregard. My bad. All right, so new business, equipment reserve fund spending limit, radio system upgrades. That was something that was requested, I do believe, Mr. Miller, was that a request on your part to add to the agenda? The spending limit for radio equipment upgrades?
No.
It was brought up by the previous interim, not me, the previous before me interim director.
Oh, gotcha.
Transferring funds.
Okay, all right, so transferring funds to the, for potential expenditures for radio upgrades. I'm sorry, since it was brought up by the prior director, I don't have all the information at my fingertips to have a proper discussion on this. I'm sorry, I thought it was brought up by somebody else for the agenda.
I can give a quick blurb if you like.
Yeah, go ahead and give us a quick update and then we can.
So we're just looking for the board to give us a number that they're comfortable with us spending towards the radio maintenance and upgrades that we need. I know we've just did another transfer from the equipment reserve fund. So what number would you like to keep in our equipment reserve fund? What would you like to release to perform the maintenance and upgrades?
I can provide a little additional context.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Nathan. So when Brian Burright, and that's the previous interim executive director that Nathan is referring to, we had a number of meetings that was actually going really well. There was good collaboration when Burright was here. And the discussion, or what Burright was suggesting, was recognizing that the radio system issues are a priority and we're having daily failures. I mean, you heard the testimony from the law enforcement officers over there. Brian wanted to get, the way that I explained, Nathan, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way that I understood it was that Burright wanted to get funds transferred to, or excuse me, not transferred, but he wanted to find out from the board how much the board was comfortable in spending to start those radio system improvements.
And the other half that would be thinking about, if our levy doesn't pass again, how much do we want to keep in there to make sure we can still have runway?
If you guys want more information from us, we're certainly, we can put together these in our priorities list that we have from several people. We have the priority list from prior studies, current studies, current advisors that we have. I know Mr. Miller has also offered up some options for us to look at as well. I personally, having only been here 30 days, would like to be able to provide you guys with a much better idea concisely of what kind of money we're looking for and what we're going to fix. I don't think we have enough money to not be prepared to spend it in the right places. I think we can all agree on that. We have to fix something. We have to start making progress, but at the same time, we have to be very cautious on how much we're spending to prepare for the future. So I would like to be able to sit down with my staff and look at some of these priority lists to come up with an idea of what we're spending and where we're going to spend it to do the best possible outcome for our user agencies. Part of that is the report, the HIDA report, but also the form we're going to be sending out to our users here shortly to start reporting these individual errors. They happen no matter how small they are, because then we can track and we can build a list and we can get answers of why this equipment or why this occurred specifically, and we can follow up their users. But it also allows us to build a comprehensive list with as much fact and data as we possibly can before we start throwing money at the problem. I'd be willing also, if the board members have any ideas that they'd like to share more suggestions, I'd love to hear it. But I would love to be able to come to the table with something much more concrete and comprehensive for you all to look at before we release funds to spend.
President. So we had multiple meetings, and I don't know how much information was passed along to you, Chairman. Some of the folks in the room were at those meetings, and the consensus, and Nathan was there too, so he can add some information too. But the plan was that we were basically coming up with the priorities, agreeing on the priorities, and then that was supposed to be the basis for determining how much funding we needed, because obviously, how do you know until you determine what the priorities are? We had 4 months of meetings about that. And now it sounds like this is, again, another case of what keeps recurring in this district over and over again is we have meetings. We get reports, and then nothing happens. I don't know why that is, but we have to be able to move forward because this is a cycle that just keeps, this is why we had all the comment today that we had. But first and foremost, we have to come up with a priority list. We need to agree on it. I am the only one here that was involved in these technical projects that's remaining, that has any context to any of this stuff historically. That's why I was trying to meet with you, so that I could explain that and that we can move forward and we could prioritize in getting these things fixed for the welfare of our public and our public safety officers. So that's what I was attempting to do, so we would have more information and more momentum to be able to discuss at this meeting.
Mr. President, I have one legal matter.
Yes.
As part of the background of this, and again, there's been the turnover in executive director, and so Mr. Heitz can't be expected to gather up all the threads so quickly. But Ron Polacone was an important consultant, and I believe that Mr. Miller and the former executive director we're meeting, and Nathan, we're meeting with Mr. Polacone continually. And in the past, there was discussions about getting him under contract because up to this point, he's been doing a public service and helping. And so there was a discussion of whether we were going to put him under contract so that the proposals can be moved forward. So for example, if a component part was suggested, Mr. Polacone had a way to test whether that was going to work. And because this system is so old, component parts are difficult to get. Whether they can be integrated or not is a question. And so Ron was looking forward to whether if we did X or Y, was that going to integrate into the system and actually function? So the legal question is, do we go back out to negotiate with Ron to get him on board as a consultant? And I think that's been before the board in the past. That's why it's under old business, but I wanted to bring that back up. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd be definitely interested in getting more information before we did anything on that. And I do appreciate what Tyler's saying as far as where we were at and where, and everything that's happened in the meetings and the moving forward. But yeah, we need to, dollars are tight. So if we're going to spend money, we need to make sure we're spending it in the right spot. So I'll turn it back over to Jeremy.
And I do have, Tyler, I do believe I have a list. I don't know how current my list is of the ones that you've sent of the priorities list that you have put together. Would you be willing to resend that list to me so I can make sure I have the most updated copy?
Yeah, of course. I think we're in alignment. My understanding was that we were in alignment on multiple things, and there were some, lack of a better term, low-hanging fruit on how just some things we could do that would make a big difference. And my understanding in being in the meetings with Ron, he agreed with those.
Okay.
I would like to meet with you though and explain things and not just send a list. I think it deserves context and a discussion. The other thing is with Ron. So I think Ron's great. Ron's very qualified. I don't have any issues with Ron. I do worry about us not having a scope of work defined for what Ron would actually be doing if it is. I'm just throwing this out there just to put on your radar. Ron's retired. Ron's an older gentleman. I don't think he wants to do a lot of the things that we may need him to do. So I think that's why we need to have a scope of work first to make sure that Ron actually is in agreement that he can do those things. Otherwise, what's going to happen is we're going to get down the road and we're going to be hiring alternative consultants for the pieces that Ron doesn't want to do. So despite how great Ron is and wants to help and that he has volunteered his time, does it make sense to hire Ron again or a firm that can actually do it all? We really need to understand what the scope of work is and what we need done before we just go and hire somebody. Otherwise, we're just going to be back in this same position and delaying improvements. The other problem that I have too is how many hundreds of thousands of dollars are we going to spend on consultants without getting anything done? That's my other concern.
And I do agree that I think it makes sense to make sure we have somebody who's going to be project manager or on board for the full project, not somebody who's going to be, that we're going to be jumping ship to somebody else in a year, because it's just going to set back the project. So I do absolutely agree with you on that, Tyler. Which is why I think, and we'll have our meeting and discuss these priorities, try to come up with a list. And I don't know if anybody else who's been involved in the prior meetings would like to also join and have that conversation, because I am trying to play catch up and trying to get caught up on everything in my first 30 days. So that being said, I appreciate the list that you've put together and the time you've put into this, even prior to becoming a board member. And yes, we'll definitely discuss it and try to come up with a plan of action.
Board policy, chapter 4. Policy.
So, Mr. President, policy 4 is only at this point for the board's review comments. It is not something to be voted on at today's meeting. This is, this is a very detailed document, and I wanted to get it to the board to review and to get all the comments. And my recommendation is that once we get all the comments, put it before the board at the September meeting. And then after the comments are received, additional changes can be made. And then we can present it to the board. Because policy 4, to my knowledge, may not have ever been redone. And so it was necessary to bring this up to current standards. So that's my legal recommendation.
Okay.
Mr. President, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
I just want to confirm, Mr. Peterkin, that you said Eileen Aiken did review this and she provided, are some of these revisions in that policy her revisions?
She did a first redraft, and then I worked on it. I sent it back to her. She hasn't had a chance to make further comments. So that's where we're at.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think we're gonna move into executive session unless there's something else.
One last thing that, on the roof contract, I need some further instructions from the board. So the contract with Washington, the roofing company is drafted, it's been to them. And the question before the board, or will be before the board, is that they want 30% down. In my representation, in my dealings with government entities, there's a real hesitancy to put money forward. Here, the 30% down is for the purchase of materials only. So I called would be the main project manager for Washington Roofing Company. We talked about exactly why they want the 30%. They don't want to advance the cost of the material. So I've talked to, as you know, I do construction work for over 30 years, and I've worked all over the state. I continue to work all over the state. And I talked to some of the other folks And right now, there's a big push on on part of the contractors to get something for materials so they don't have to put it out of their pocket. So before the board, I need additional authority. Do I keep, they want 30% down, which is $63,819. The total contract for the roof is $212,730. That assumes that they're not, that we talked about before, that there's not going to be who knows what damages to the roof from leaks and so on and so forth. So,
well, certainly time is of the essence. We need to keep this project moving, while weather permits. And I'm thinking they have a bond, so let's say we advance this and things went south and we have a resource of, is that?
yeah, so there's two things. One, they have a general public bond for 30,000. In the contract terms, I said you need a performance and a payment bond. And I want them to have both. And so under those circumstances, and because we're in an emergency situation, I think that it's my legal recommendation that the board authorize the 63,000 down payment so that they can buy the material to get this done. And I will say that we've done the background on Washington Roofing Company, and this was a competitive bid process. They're a very good company. They've been in business for a long time. They have all their own employees. They're licensed, they're bonded. They're a very good company. I know that Nathan and Merck's really liked them when they came and did the temporary patch. And oh, by the way, the temporary patch has worked. It hasn't leaked. So that's my summary, if there's any question.
I have a question.
Yes.
Have they indicated, the roofing company, have they indicated if they do find additional damage they need to repair, are they going to come back and ask for additional monies for those materials as well?
No. Well, the correct process is that once it's been identified, we will have staff go up and look at it. We'll verify it. We'll make sure that it's reasonable and necessary, and then we'll execute a written change order before they do the work. And so they're not going to charge us anything unless it's reasonable and necessary charges.
I'm just wondering if they're going to ask for another portion of money.
Oh, no.
At that time.
No, they will not. No. And the other thing is that we've set this up because we have a building A and building B. And so the idea is that the roofing will be done, weather permitting, on one building completely, and then they'll move to the other building. And so it's all about weather permitted, and we're shooting for it. I'm putting a completion date of November 30th, and we're just hoping that that's going to work with the weather. So that's the summary.
Okay, I have a question. Mr. Peterkin, have they submitted, they being Washington Roofing, sorry, has Washington Roofing submitted an itemized list to substantiate the cost of those materials amounting to 63,000, or are they just blanket saying that it's going to be 63,000 for materials?
So they gave a very detailed proposal, and so they list it. And then I followed up with their, I guess, first in command after the owner to understand exactly what the materials were going to cost. And so it's not clearly specified in here.
I guess what I'm asking is it substantiated that $63,000 is the total for materials?
Yes, they substantiated it to me.
Okay, thank you.
But if you want written, I can ask them for a written substantiation. I trust the guy He broke it down for me.
I'm fine with that, just making sure that that is actual cost of materials.
Yes.
I don't think it's unreasonable for them to ask for us to put the deposit down on materials. Do we have a termination clause in that contract where we?
Yes, we have a number of termination clauses, including a termination for convenience, termination for several reasons. We reserve our sovereign immunity, so on and so forth.
That's why I think it's reasonable for them to be concerned that they would go buy $63,000 in materials and then us potentially cancel the contract, so.
Okay, any other discussion? Yeah, we need a motion and a second without approval of the material. The amount 60. 63.
60, it's a 63,819 is the correct figure. And the motion would be to, once it's signed, and I will get you the contract. Yeah, probably Friday, tomorrow's Friday, as soon as possible, because they need to order it, and it would be directing Mickey to issue the check.
Okay, motion and second for.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, and any further, we've kind of already discussed it, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries. Are we?
Jeff, we went over these two.
I was just gonna ask about that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we've got the lower engineering agreement renewal.
So I can give you guys a quick run through. This is Mertz's work. He's done a great job. The first one we have for you is Lower Columbia Engineering. The Brian Burright, interim director, authorized up to $20,000 for architectural work. We need a little bit more runway with them. We're at around $19,000 so that they can finish all the work with the roof as project goes forward. They're expecting $5,000 to $7,000. We want to give a little bit more headway, so we're asking for a not to exceed of $30,000 from the board. And if you have any more questions, we're happy to answer.
Let's get a motion and a second for that, and any further discussion?
We apologize for the delay. This all happened around 6 p.m. last night.
I'll motion that we make the extension not to exceed 30,000. For roof repair.
A second. Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion?
Mr. President, I would ask Nathan to explain what they would do for the additional work, because that's not been clear.
I'm going to defer to you, Marks.
Yeah, and so they've completed most of our initial scope of work, which was actually developing plans for the replacement roof edge and gutter interface. What remains is engineering observations during construction to ensure that the repairs are properly executed, and a project closeout, including a walkthrough and development of a punch list for any remaining repair items. We want them as experts on our side to be able to check out the work that Washington does and make sure that it's done per their plans as they specify. I think it's good.
So my only concern with this is that at the last meeting, we authorized up to $300,000 for the roof repair. I thought that that was inclusive of basically everything. How much are we into this whole roof matter with all of the different vendors involved? And how much have we approved total?
I can get that number if you want me to get that number.
From the beginning of the issues, I could tell you with Washington Roofing and the Lower Columbia Engineering, it's 330. But with all the other issues and contractors before that, that's a number we'd have to find.
Mr. Miller, the Washington roofing contract is 212,730. And at the last meeting, we just don't know what the roof condition will be, and that's why we wanted to give some flexibility on change orders.
Yeah, I under,
Prior meeting, the board voted to get the engineers to do the proper plans because this is a modular building and the plans for the re-roofing versus the mere repair. And we were trying to the board was trying to save money at looking at a repair option versus a replacement option. Does that answer your question?
yeah, it does. I'm just wondering what what we have spent and the total that we've authorized. For whatever reason, I thought that the 300,000 the up to 300,000, which include, the incidentals, I thought that was going to be, the engineering aspect was going to be included in that also. What I'm hearing is, and please clarify or correct me if I'm wrong, but the Lower Columbia engineering scope of work is basically just to come through and bless the work that Washington Roofing has done. That's the scope of their work.
That is the remaining items on their scope of work. They had been involved in the process, looking at repair versus replacement from the start, including drafting up plans and having a dialogue with Washington Roofing to design the roof that Washington Roofing is going to do the actual installation of.
Okay. And I'm assuming there is a warranty for Washington Roofing's work and materials?
Yes.
It's a 5-year Washington roofing company warranty and then a 20-year manufacturer's warranty. And that warranty is going to be part of the contract.
Okay, thank you.
That was part of why we decided with the replacement, because there was no warranty with the repair.
Okay, any further discussion? Not. A motion in the second to approve up to not to exceed 30,000 for Lower Columbia Engineering Agreement. All in favor? Aye. 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 Opposed. Okay, and then citing.
More great work by Marks. What we've realized without the gutters is we have a lot of holes in this building and we need to start getting those patched up and sealed. We're not looking to open up the building any further. We're looking to just seal up the building. So going around caulking, power washing, painting. We've found, numerous cracks that we can seal up. So the quote we went with and what we're suggesting to the board is from Cobalt Painting. They are a commercial contractor and can go further than just painting. So we are confident that they can complete the project. They quoted us for $33,725. We are asking for a contingency of $50,000. And it's a large contingency, but it's for any, damage that they discover along the way. And we don't expect there to be a whole lot that they find.
Motion in a second. And discussion on that.
Just clarify contingency, not to exceed 50,000.
We have a motion in a second for that contingency not to exceed 50,000. Motion. We have a motion second. Any further discussion? Sure, it's needs to be addressed. So, yeah.
Cheaper to fix it now.
Right. Anybody else have any comment, question, anything? If not, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No opposed. Our motion carries. Okay, am I forgetting anything else? Are we good? Good. So we'll go ahead and close regular session at this time. We're going to executive session under ORS 1.2.660 subsection 2H legal counsel. ORS 192.660 subsection 2 security. The actions may be taken after executive session will come from legal.
1 second, I need to start the other one. Makes you really miss Mary Jo. There we go.
Okay, it's 12:20. We're gonna resume regular session. And any agenda items for the next board meeting, which is Thursday, September 25th at 9 a.m. And so, yeah, if anybody has anything to add to the agenda, just submit it in writing and we'll see if we can't, something will pop up, whatever. But if nobody has anything to discuss now for the next board meeting, then any other business? Anything that we
Jeff, just a question real quick. Are we still going around to give board member comment at the end?
Yes.
Okay. See.
Yeah. And that's up next. So any other business? Everybody's good?
Jeff, just that the security SOP is on the agenda for next in September, correct?
Yes. Okay. Okay. And member comments. We'll go ahead and start with Brian.
Just congratulations to Merck for his Employee of the Year recognition and just a great job dispatch has been doing lately. I know we have our issues, but they've been overcoming them and working really hard. We appreciate it.
All right. Shelley.
Reiterate Merck's and all your work and dispatch and all that everyone's doing to make things go. I'm looking forward to the new advisory committee. I'm looking forward to everybody working together and get this stuff done like we've been trying to do for a while and ready to see it move forward. And congratulations, Jeremy, to actually see you here in your position.
Yeah. Thank you. Mark.
I just want to thank everybody for all the effort and time they're putting into making the district successful. I think we're going to move it forward and make it more reliable, hopefully sooner or later, but I think we are addressing some immediate needs and it's good work. Fortunately, I'm having some health issues, so I may have delayed replies and days where I'm inaccessible in the next month. But I will try and keep everyone posted as to how that goes, so that way there's no surprises.
Yeah, get well soon.
Absolutely.
And Tyler.
Thank you. Jeremy, welcome to your first meeting, kind of a drink out of the fire hose a little bit, I would assume.
Just a bit, yeah.
Yeah. So based on the public comment today and what I'm hearing externally from the public comment too, is there is and I've gotten some text messages from different people too. People are seeing that there's a polarization of the board basically. And there was some comments made about that. I would recommend that we bring in SDAO and try to do a board member training for basically trying to align the board members and get up to a little bit better on what the role is of the board, team building. I mean, every year with city council, we do a team building exercise to try to, just foster good relationships. But the public is seeing that there is contention. I got a message, Shelley, not to call you out, but somebody said, Shelley's going to disagree with everything that you say. So I don't say that to put you on the spot, but I say that because just so that you could be aware of the optics.
Furthermore, that's not true.
Okay.
I don't disagree with everything.
I didn't say that. I'm not saying that it was.
Why somebody would think that.
Okay. I'm just saying it because just for you to be aware of what the public perception is. So whatever the case may be, this is why I want to do an SDO type training so that we can hopefully work on, we got to get over this because the optics on this for this whole agency, the local option levy is not going to pass if this board stays in dysfunction. It's not about us. So whatever the attitudes are with one another, they have to go away because everybody is depending on that. We have to work together and we have to respect one another too. And that doesn't mean that we don't disagree with each other or have, disagreements about different things. Because you can respectfully disagree and have different political positions on things, that's fine. But you don't take those things personally. And that's, in my opinion, what's been happening. We have to get past that if this agency is going to survive. That's my opinion. So I'm hoping that we can be in agreement to get an SDAO training. Maybe we can reach out to George and see if that can happen. I am really disappointed about not getting proposals for legal counsel. I feel very strongly that when you have a litigator as your general counsel, that the hat is litigation. If we had an attorney that actually worked with boards and special districts, they're very aligned with boards and what board outcomes are. So all of their recommendations, their advice, everything that they do is with that in mind. So having proper general counsel on board to help guide the decisions of the board is critical. I mean, at the city, we would never dream of having an attorney that doesn't practice government law and that doesn't consistently work with other government agencies. But the point is that this is another area that we're out of alignment on, and this will continue to cause problems. And we don't need to be paying $4.95 an hour for general counsel. I mean, by all means, if we have litigation, if the board decides at a consensus that they want to use Mr. Peterkin, then they can use Mr. Peterkin for that. That's fine. But having a litigator at $4.95 an hour as your general counsel, why? We should have an attorney that practices government law, $300 an hour as our general counsel. That's a specialty litigation, just like we're using Eileen or employment law counsel. We can pull those folks in as needed, but we certainly do not need them for general counsel. So in chapter 4, there's a section about the different responsibilities of the board members. Historically, I have not seen like the secretary and treasurer. Actually, Jeff, maybe this is something good to put on for the next agenda, but I just want to make sure that I understand what my responsibilities are as, sorry, my pages are all discombobulated here. Basically, it defines the duties of what the secretary and treasurer, president, vice president do. And for me, for example, it's that I'm supposed to take meeting notes, but I've never seen the secretary take meeting notes. So I just want to make sure, I know what my responsibilities are and I'm fulfilling those. So could we put that on the conversation about that?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that Jeremy already brought up the concerns with Ron and just the SOW and making sure that we have complete thoughts about that whole thing. I can't read my own writing, so I guess that's it. Thank you.
Hey, I want to shout out again, like others mentioned with Merck's, huge shout out and pat on the back, and I appreciate all your hard work, and it's nice to see you get recognized for that. Welcome aboard. 30 days whirlwind, so glad to have you on board. And I hear, Tyler, what you're saying, and I thought, we can agree that we disagree, but let's find some neutral ground and let's move forward and try to do what's best for the district, because we're not, and not just Tyler, but we're not always, all of us are going to be in agreement, or we're not all going to be on the same page all the time. So that's all I got. Any other comments? Hearing none, we're going to adjourn the meeting at 12:29. Thank you.
Thank you.